The Prince of Wales doesn't seem to be keen to have peace talks.
And Meghan Markle's catty couture meltdown. Welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show that dives into the fascinating world of two of the most recognized royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Hi, and I'm Rupert Bell. I'm not coming from mainland Britain. I'm in Northern Ireland for the Open Golf Championship this week. I'm staying in some high-class student accommodation. Oh, the life of being a sports reporter on the road. However, I will be bringing you all the news on the Prince and Princess of Wales, and they've certainly been in the news this week.
Thoughts and prayers to your internet connection is what I'll say right off the bat. Thoughts and prayers. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed. I know I'm probably going in too soon on this story, but it affects all of the sons of the king. Seeing reports that Prince William was quote unquote snubbed from these peace talks. I think I agree with you in your tone that Prince William would have no desire to be involved in said peace talks. But we're also reading that Prince Harry is fuming after details of a peace summit were revealed to the Daily Mail. He's also denying that his camp had anything to do with this leak. The story is, over the weekend, the Daily Mail exclusively broke that senior aides working for the king and Prince Harry took their quote-unquote first steps towards royal reconciliations by holding sensitive talks out in the open where any photographer could just snap a photo, and did snap a photo. It was at this private members club in central London. They start out on the patio with drinks and then they go inside. And for some reason, we know the location, we know the time, there are pictures taken, and we know the subject of those talks. Rupert, I'd love your reaction to the idea of peace talks. And then let's talk about the Prince William's absence.
Well, I'm not surprised that William's not involved, right? I don't see that, because that's the first bridge that Harry and his team have to involve is with his father. If that does show signs that it has some meat and is sensible and is not going to involve in things rushing to the papers about anything that is said, William is not prepared, I don't think, at this stage to even go there. And until they know that there is a period of trust built up. Now, the trouble is, the Sussexes may deny that they didn't go bleating to the press. Now, was in a high-profile place, and media types would have noticed them and probably could have tipped off other people. But unfortunately, the Sussex camp there's even trust about that because of what they've done before. And this is the problem for the Sussexes. Their actions before have created a level of suspicion that anything that does come out, immediately people say, well, it must be them. Now, I have no idea whether it is them or not them. So I'm not going to prejudge and assume it is one way or another. But that is the problem for the Sussexes. And if they are just trying to find a way of Harry restoring his relationship with his father, then that seems something that everyone should do. But as I've said before, Harry is without contact with his family. He's friendless in America. Meghan, I'm not sure friends are rushing up the street to Montecito, but she's on home turf. He's not. He's the lonely one. And I think, with his father's cancer diagnosis, is feeling, like any son about their father, slightly lonely about this. And I'm not defending him, because he's created this problem, but he's the one who's got to make the move. And it's for the king to then decide, do I want to take this further if I can rebuild the trust? And for William, he won't even come anywhere near the situation, I'm pretty sure, until he feels that Harry is in a position almost to go mea culpa.
One of our mutual friends, Mike Graham, brought something to my attention, because of course, there's a million theories. Could the king be thinking to himself, look, the lawsuit's over, Harry against the government, Harry lost. I'm ill. Let's just sweep this under the rug. Let's just get this over with. This is ridiculous. I think that a lot of people are saying online, well, Harry and Meghan have run out of money. So clearly now it's time to go crawling back. But one of my probably a controversial take I had was that maybe the palace did leak it to garner a reaction from the public, the reaction being so negative, and this way they can say, look, we made an effort, but realistically, we can't bring you back into the fold because there was so much anger and of course that's a long shot. That's a long shot. But our friend Mike Graham brought this to my attention, saying perhaps somebody from William's camp would leak this story because they want to. They were angry that they were excluded, or they want to ensure that you did get that negative public reaction. Any thoughts there?
I think you can come up with every theory.
Yeah,
we've probably done everything. You've done William, you've done the King, we've done Harry. I'm not sure where else we could have just done a member of the public.
What's Meghan doing? Harry,
yeah.
What's Meghan doing?
Yeah.
What's Meghan doing? We need to make sure Meghan wasn't on the phone with somebody at the Daily Mail.
We can speculate till the cows come home here, but whatever, there is clearly something going on between the respective teams. Now, what was discussed? Were they just having a glass of rosé on a glorious London afternoon, and everyone's been sweltering and with the heat? So I think we have to take it at face value and say at least there is some level of communication. Now, the PR team for the Sussexes always seem to be on a hiding to nothing because we know that their bosses are the most difficult pair to work for because they change their mind like the wind. They will say something and then they'll do the opposite. So they're a very hard team to work for. Whatever comes out long term, this is not a short-term solution. This will play out over a series of months. But I do think it's coming about because Harry is, let's be honest, is completely rudderless in America at the moment. We're not basically going to a few trade things and speaking a bit of word salad and then going back to Montecito. And that's my take on it at the moment. And it's Harry probably saying, I'd quite like to get back with my dad because I may be just missing him.
That's so much nicer than I am.
Well, Kinsey, you're normally quite nice, but I'm trying to offer a sympathetic take. But I'm basically saying it's all because of the Sussexes doing. Even with doing that BBC interview a few weeks ago, he added fuel to the fire because he's a plonker.
Yeah, as I've been covering this, I've said, look, a royal reconciliation, I think realistically, yes, if I'm thinking with my heart and not my head, I go, yes, we would love Prince Harry to reconcile with his ill father. Common sense says that's the way to go. But if I'm thinking if I'm thinking with my head and not my heart, then I say Harry and Meghan are still a liability, and I want the royal family to protect themselves by avoiding them. And I know that that's really harsh, but I don't think I'm alone in that feeling that I don't think Harry and Meghan deserve to be back in the fold. I think that what they've done has been so selfish and hurtful over the last few years, and they haven't ever apologized for it. They haven't ever taken responsibility for their own actions. And I don't think that I don't think we'll see them take responsibility for their own actions. I think we would just see them do a victory lap if the king did allow them back in any way, shape, or form.
Sad that the situation has got to this. And I don't know how, no one wants a reconciliation, but it has to be Harry and Meghan.
The source described the summit as the first step towards reconciliation between Harry and his father and a step in the right direction, adding it was finally the right time for the two sides to talk. There's still a long way to go, but this is the first time in years that there's been a direct line between them. It wasn't a formal sit down, just relaxed drinks. Both sides had things they needed to say, and how frightening that they can't say them to each other. How frightening that we have to enlist our communications team to when Harry has something to say, though, at least it's through a communications team semi-privately versus on the BBC, which threw us all off. We were so taken aback by that BBC interview and appalled. Appalled is the best way to put it, because he said he didn't know how much longer his father had to live, and again was just like throwing his dirty laundry out for the world to see.
The problem is, people want, the only way it's going to come about, I think, a proper reconciliation is if there's a bit of Harry and Meghan have got to apologize. But the problem is, Meghan is convinced by her rightness, and Harry just follows on a bit like a dumb poodle. And as a result, the issue, and until he actually says, right, I gotta say I've slightly messed up here. Sorry, Dad. We've got to resolve this, and I promise to do better.